Hi class, my name is Cuba, and I'm going to do my speech on the 2010 World Cup. And I'm going to start out with saying this, according to a book called African World Cup, Critical Reflections on Play and Patriotism, written by Peter Malgi, a professor at MSU on 2013, um, roughly about 3.2 billion people watched the World Cup, which is almost like 1 out of 2 in the world. So it's likely that you've known someone or you yourself watched it. And some background on this would be this is the first World Cup to ever be hosted in Africa, so it was kind of a big deal because it's a poor country, and that's the big issue because it was a poor country hosting such a big event, and people didn't really think that it was correct to give such a important job to a developing nation. And since I've done all my speeches on soccer related things, I feel like I'm more credible on this. And South Africa did a really good job hosting this World Cup, and they really had lots of benefits that came out of it, the whole thing. And first I'll talk about the issues they had and how they improved them during this time. Second, I'll talk about how they hosting this brought a lot of attention to a lot of their problems and helped them fix them. And lastly, I'll talk about the legacy that they brought out after finishing the cup. And now we'll talk about their issues. So South Africa had lots of problems before World Cup. They had just gone through a civil war, and they were dealing with a lot of hardships between starvation. They didn't really have clean environments as much, and apartheid had caused lots of problems between the races of people and the tribes. And according to according to an article called South African Game Plan by Sam Ross, a journalist at Against the Culture during 2008, they were talking about how people feared that these problems would arise during the World Cup and cause riots or problems for the people visiting them. And this of course didn't actually happen because they spent a lot of money, and the government ended up spending a lot of money on its people, and that's how they improved a lot of things. And that's according to the infrastructure benefits of South Africa because of the World Cup by Nate Berg, an editor at the Planet Center in 2010. He states that throughout this time, the World Cup, they spent a lot of money on improving public spaces and stuff like that. So that helped them jump more from a developing nation to a more first world country. And after talking about these issues and improvements, I'll talk about how the World Cup put all eyes on Africa. So it allowed a lot of people to learn about their culture and other things such there's food and how people are. And they also brought a lot of different investors, so it added more sustainable jobs to their economy and money just because they had an actual chance. And according to South Africa, Will World Cup Party Be Worth It by Patrick Bond, a journalist of GLW on 2010, which was kind of where they stated that all the wrong things that could possibly happen during the World Cup, that they would misuse the money and there'd be a lot of corruption and they wouldn't actually spend it on improving things but just pocket it all. This of course turned out to not be true because if you looked at before they put in a lot of these new nice things that wouldn't have been there before. They fixed up a lot of the cities, and it also brought more attention to more support groups wherever we go, the UN and the Red Cross. And lastly, after talking about how they were being watched by all people, I will talk about the legacy that they left. So at the beginning of this of the World Cup, like a lot of people didn't believe that they would actually be able to do anything and like actually host it efficiently, because the one before it was held by like two different countries. Like it was held in like to a higher standard, I guess. They were gonna be held to a higher standard, but they ended up pulling a really good job and improved a lot of things. And according to according to an article called "South Africa Leaves a World Cup Legacy to Remember" by Owen Gibson, the Guardian's chief sports correspondent in 2011, the FIFA secretary actually felt like it was okay to joke about how South Africa could actually be considered as a plan B in case an actual country that couldn't host it couldn't, and they would be able to go in. And it just shows kind of like how they actually did pull off a really good job, even though they were a poor country. And finally, after hearing all this argument, I can wrap up this speech. So South Africa did actually like a good job, even though a lot of people thought that they weren't going to be able to, and they actually like improved a lot of things. And so first I talked about their issues and the problems and how the World Cup helped improve them, and then I talked about how they were being watched by a lot more people now, and they had like all the attention on them during this time. And then lastly, I talked about the legacy they left behind for the poor countries. And this here shows how like they're steadily rising after, and it's because so South Africa spent $3 billion on the World Cup, and after that it's been accumulated. So they say they've added $6 billion in total to their economy, so they have been doing a lot better. So it'd be a really good job for like the United States or something to host it, because they also end up making a lot